You mentioned witness. From my reading, that word has popped up a lot, witness consciousness. Could you talk about that and how that relates to Tantra?
Well, this is the key to certainly the emotional clearing process, and in fact to your advancement in your own spiritual evolution. Learning to come to that place of slight detachment where instead of being totally embroiled in emotions to where you lose it and you do things that you regret afterwards, and you're just kind of in another space. It's like someone else is doing it. Most people can find that place. But to come into an emotional space and be watching, like, oh, this is an interesting movie. The witness doesn't have a judgment going. It doesn't say, oh my God, you're still getting pissed off when somebody says that. You're stupid after 10 years of therapy and you still can't do this. This is not witnessing. That's the mind doing its trip. But the witness is really the presence of soul. Is observing and saying, this is the pattern that we've been recurring. Here it is again in a new guise. Okay, this is interesting. It's benevolent.
Without the judgment.
Without a judgment, yeah. And being able to be both in this objective place as well as in the totally subjective, not feeling any less intensely, not shutting yourself down emotionally, suppressing. Having both of those going at the same time, this is the Shakti, if you will, the female, the earth, the emotional, and this is the Shiva, objective, clarity, conscious. When those two can come together, can coexist, that is the tantric experience.
So once you've detached yourself from these emotions,
just a little, you can't go too far back or you lose it.
Does it take the charge out of those emotions?
Eventually. Each time they'll reoccur, you'll find yourself coming back into the same situation, and it may feel like you've gone full circle and here you are back at the same space again, because we each have things that push our buttons, and every time we run into that situation, and existence has an amazing way of providing opportunities to come back to that emotion. But each time, instead of just going around in an endless circle, it's the witness, you're coming from a little higher perspective, so it's more like
so it's kind of like Dante's Inferno backwards.
Swirling your way up. And eventually it gets to where there's not the push on it. It may never go away. You may always find yourself having a certain predilection, wanting to respond in a certain way to a certain situation, but it doesn't have to run your life anymore. And it just becomes a source of amusement if you're working with it consciously. And, oh boy, there goes my thing again. But it's part of you, and you've accepted it and worked it into the big system, like integration.